Good morning, happy Sunday. Hey, can we take a minute to celebrate? Because I know some of you have actually watched every single video so far. This is video 4, and out of everything you could have watched this morning, you chose this video. And you know something? That's actually like you're moving in your spiritual life, because I don't know about you, sometimes I can feel so discouraged of like, I'm not going anywhere with Jesus. This is you making decisions that you're actually going somewhere with God. So if you haven't told yourself congratulations this morning, congratulations to you. Yeah, you're pretty cool. If you enjoyed, make sure you like and subscribe to be kept up to date with all of our new videos. Also, want to be a part of our mission? Donate below to support us in our calling to help young people hear God's voice and live their mission. Let's talk about a little bit of this morning's video. I got a little bit about my week here for you. I got excited this year because we're having our summer camps in full force, and we're starting to get ready for them this week, and I was excited when we started talking to some of our moms about what does summer camp look like. And I'm one of those weird ones that I like everything about summer camp. I actually do. Like, I'm even one that brings my own tent, which I got for Christmas, which is the best Christmas gift of my whole life. I even like sleeping outside under the stars. I mean, I am summer camp all the way. So when we started working this year, I actually remember this memory of like 2016 that you have on summer camp. And it's of this moment that it was 4 of us that were all decided to sleep up on the top camp that we have. And the girls were all tucked away in their little cabins, and then the couple of us chaperones were out in the tent, and all the sun went down, and all of a sudden I could hear all these coyotes. You know, and there was a moment where I was like, do we have both the zippers inside the tent? It wasn't logical, because obviously the coyotes couldn't have gotten in with the zipper, right? But in that moment I was like, I'm kind of vulnerable right now. Like, I'm in the middle of this tent, anything can get in. And it was a light for me that I wanted to share with you this morning. I think, especially when you're first starting like this whole journey of recognizing God's voice and, you know, the enemy's voice, the sulfur of like, that's not God's voice. What is that? You know, discouragement. And then the cologne. Oh, God's encouraging me. That sounds like his voice. I think what happened is, like, for me, when I first started like traversing that pathway in the beginning, what I realized is I had kind of thin walls. And this is what I mean by this. I kind of felt like my soul was like this tent. And I had left the zipper door open for most of my life. And then when you realize, like, anything can get in and out of my tent. The spiritual life is kind of like that in the beginning. Your heart is like this open-doored tent. And sometimes what you don't recognize is, like, if you're anything like me, voices can come in and out of that tent, and you don't even always realize what they are. And so then you can feel a little bit helpless. Have you ever felt like this? You sit down to pray, and you're like, I want to pray about something, but like, I am so confused. Like, does God want this, or does he want this? Should I take this path, or should I take this path? And then you kind of get like the hamster on the wheel inside of you, where like you don't even know where you should go, and you just get kind of like buried under all the confusion or under all the doubts. When you first start recognizing the voice of Jesus in your own soul, this starts to happen. You can kind of come to your heart, and you might have the same realization I had on summer camp. Oh my gosh, my door is wide open. I have this beautiful tent, and I could close the door and keep some voices out, but I just have zero practice. Like, right now, anything that wants to come into my heart can come into my heart. I wanted to give you a 3-step process for now that you're becoming more aware, which is a huge, cool step forward. And if you haven't watched last week's video on sulfur and cologne, try that video, because you might like it. As you start to become more aware of what's going on inside your heart, here's what can happen. You actually can start to notice more things of, oh my gosh, like, I felt so discouraged yesterday. And you can also start to get little whiffs of, yeah, I can do that. And you have this whole conglomeration of all sorts of things in your open-doored tent, right? Can we go through 3 ways, or like a 3-step process of how you can unpack those things, and then let's teach you how to close the door on that tent, because it'll change your whole ever-loving spiritual life. So, number 1, I think one of the most important things when you're starting, I think it's really valuable when you come up to your heart and just take a peek inside. No judgment. I think especially if you're a girl, this can be really hard to do because you can say like, okay, I know God is never supposed to speak in discouragement. Oh, there's discouragement, and you close it, right? But actually, hang on. Like, open up that heart space inside of you and sort through what is going on inside of my heart. What am I feeling inside of me without any judgment? You have a permission slip that you can just sign from the beginning, right from when you decide, I'm going to look into my heart. Yeah. It doesn't matter what's there because actually you're not responsible for it. Not yet. You're just exploring. So, oh, okay, I have some discouragement there. Oh, okay, I have some clarity there. I have some confusion. I have some doubt over here. And you just take a lay of the land, almost like you drop a hook down into the ocean of your heart, and you're just taking a scan around of what's down there. You got a coral reef. You've got like a little, abandoned ship at the bottom of the ocean. It's more just enjoying. So that's the first step in your heart, to just notice and become aware what is inside of me. Okay? That's step one. Step two is where you come up for air and you're like, okay, all right. And you use your head. Okay, so you go from your heart, what is happening inside of me, to your head. Where is that coming from? Okay, what I know. God never speaks in discouragement. Okay, so there's a voice of the enemy inside. I've got a couple raccoons in my tent that need to get out, right? And you say, okay, that's not from God. And then you also identify, this is from God. Okay, encouragement. We want to feed that. Actually, that's sunlight streaming into my tent that looks good. Yeah. So you're like, okay, I'm gonna keep that. And in your head, you start to separate the sheep from the goats, right? This is not from God, this is from God. And then the most important thing, and this is like the genius of the zipper. You decide, what are you gonna kick out of your heart? I'm gonna kick out discouragement. No way, that does not belong here. Bam. And you get it out of your heart. You kick it out of your tent, and then you decide, what am I gonna keep? You know what? A pillow and a sleeping bag, that belongs here. Comfort from God. Or that light streaming in from the open rainfly, right? It's a sunny day, I'd like to keep that clarity. And you decide, what are you gonna keep? And what are you gonna kick out? And then you do it. So you reject the rejector. Anything that says to you, you're not good enough, anything that says discouragement, fear, doubt, any of the things that are like in that, what we talked about in the last video, that sulfur, right? That does not belong in your tent. Kick it out, right? And then zip up the tent. That is the genius of the zipper right there, is once you decide those are not in my life, then you zip up the tent so they can't get back in. And every time that discouragement comes and knocks on your door, you could just be in a place where you're like, oh, that's discouragement, that's not from God, I'm being attacked again. You put on your assertive nature, and you're like that girl's like in the cafeteria, like, that you say that to that voice, and you kick it out. That's the power of the strong voice that God gave you, is that nobody except for you can decide whose voice is allowed inside. So if you're one of those people, and this is a lot of us, that have been trying at the spiritual life for a long time, and you're like, I know that God doesn't speak to me when I'm like on this sense of like, oh, I can never get my prayer done, whatever. If you're aware that that's not God's voice, and you're aware that God actually does want me to feel encouraged, but you don't know exactly how to get out of it, this is me showing up on your YouTube screen to say, use your voice. And I think the devil is kind of like this little really ugly yippy dog. And when you speak up and you say, you stop that does not belong here, he's actually not that powerful. Like, the discouragement actually is not that powerful. You just talk back to it. And that's the power of putting that zipper door back up and locking things out of your tent. Is as you go on, it's super cool. You're gonna learn how to build walls, and you're gonna have good rebar, and you have spiritual strength outside of you. And I think the first step to that is clear out that space inside of you. Even if your walls feel kind of thin, they'll hold. But what you need to actually be able to inside of my heart, inside of my head, inside of my hands, to decide, no, I am not letting that in. And I think when you can do that, what happens is that you can actually be at peace in yourself, because you know that ultimately the power to unzip and let things in, or zip and keep things out, you have that power. And that's a good feeling. And God wants you to have that power. So this week, let's take a step towards strength, to take a look at what is God's voice and to keep it, to say no to what is Satan's voice. I think you're gonna have a good week, because you know what? It feels good to be spiritually strong. God bless you and have a great week.